I thank the honourable member for Hindmarsh. The question is that the motion be agreed to, and I call the honourable member for Chifley.
Deputy Speaker, I was recently happy to welcome the opposition leader to the Chifley electorate to visit a massive development venture that's under construction there, the Sydney Business Park at Marsden Park, and it's going to create hundreds of thousands of jobs through, in particular, a partnership initiated by the developers, joined by a range of community-based organisations, and the future tenants of the site are going to commit to source the majority of staff from neighbouring suburbs. And they're looking to do what they can to lift the number of youth unemployed, to deal with the youth unemployed in the area, because youth unemployment has plagued our area for quite some time. It's running at roughly 3 times the national unemployment rate, and it's predicted to climb to 4 times that within the next few years. So we need a range of people and groups, business, government and within the community to work together to make sure we create jobs and get our local young people ready and skilled up to fill those jobs. Now, brings me back to the opposition leader's visit, where he was able to meet with the developers and then meet with on site some of the local young people that are already busy working to get a future in the hospitality industry. Now, courtesy of Maris Youth Care, this band of future entrepreneurs and pretty sharp baristas running their own cafe in a demountable adjacent to all the site's construction activity. They're the first wave of what we'll hope will be many to follow, showing what they're capable of if given the chance and boosted by the right support that's actually provided by Youth Connections that is used on site. Deputy Speaker, that project is just one of many that Maris Youth Care is involved in the Chifley electorate, giving young people in our area a hope of employment and boosting their self-worth. And the following day I visited another organisation in Doonside, Eagle Wraps, a fantastic group of dedicated people who, incidentally, also source Youth Connections funding through Maris Youth Care's grant. And Eagle Wraps offers an education platform to young people who've had problems adapting to traditional schooling or will be battling their own personal circumstances, such as misdemeanours or a difficult family life. Now, an organisation that delivers hope for others is running out of hope for themselves, because the Abbott government has cut $800,000 of Youth Connections grant funding to Maris Youth Care that also uses Eagle Wraps. And in fact, Eagle Wraps is staring closure in the face after 20 years of operation. Now, the area that I'm proud to represent doesn't hold a monopoly on youth unemployment, crime or hard luck stories, not by any stretch, but we do have more than our fair share, and organisations like Maris Youth Care and Eagle Wraps give greater value for money than the funds they secure from the government. But the Abbott government thinks it's clever to slash their funding and tear away at the sections of society that need the help the most, as evidenced in the bold letters contained within their budget. And what I found particularly galling is that the very day after the opposition leader and I met with Maris Youth Care on site, the Prime Minister turned up in our area in Blacktown and had the hide to meet Maris Youth Care, the very organisation that he stripped $800,000 from, and the Parliamentary Secretary was in tow with him, visiting Maris Youth Care in Blacktown. And I felt for them because they were obviously aggrieved. They're impacted on. They're trying to find jobs and skill people up in our area, and the Abbott government has basically cut their funding, but then the Prime Minister wants to use them as a prop for a photo opportunity. Maris Youth Care is good enough for the Prime Minister to use for a photo op, but they're not good enough to support with the funding they need to help reduce youth unemployment in the area that I represent. And it is absolute crime. And does it make sense? No, it doesn't. But in a way it's not surprising. Let's look at the ministry list. In the ministry list, this is how many people from Western Sydney sit in the federal ministry. And in an area of 2 million people, mind you, 1, and this is how many sit from the east of Sydney, highlighted in orange, and we have 1. And that's my issue. This government has no concept of the impact of its decisions. It cuts school funding, makes it harder for our young to go to university, it slashed programs like Youth Connections, and the impact of these cuts and the human story is out of sight and out of mind for an Eastern Sydney-centric ministry, except for Senator Payne. And Senator Payne's the only Western Sydney minister. And guess what? She's the Minister for Human Services that oversights Centrelink, the same government body that will shortly be holding back New Start payments to the young people who find it harder to get work because programs like Youth Connections get cut. And that tells you everything you need to know about this government. If it's out of sight, it's out of mind. They don't care for the young people of Western Sydney and the problems they have, because none of their ministers have to walk around the communities that are affected by their decisions. unless, of course, it's the Prime Minister and his parliamentary secretaries all out there for a cheap photo.